And with the words, I'm ready when you're ready, but not but. In addition, I'm born ready. We are starting here very nice episode, bridging episode between continents. I'm sitting here in Paris, 5 daytime, and my very honorable guest in Chicago. It's his morning, 9 o'clock. And I wished him first. I asked, "Oh wow, so you're really starting your morning and day and week with me." I do hope it's actually nice sign. And now I feel, because at the end of the everything about the energy, and we are talking today about communication, and then wow, energy is this. I believe for me, it's the soul of communication, what we're elaborating today. So please help me to welcome my very special guest. And I also want to be my show so human. So, and humans, we can't forget, we don't seek here perfections. And usually what I'm doing, I double check the pronunciation of name before I push the button. And I can confess I forgot. So that's why please help me to welcome my very good friend, or I have it here in written. It's Riley Miles, but I'm not sure. Is it correct pronunciation?
Yeah, first off, thank you so much for having me on. Great to see you. I wish I was in Paris too, but Chicago is the next best thing. Yeah, my name is G. Riley Mills. That is the name that I write under, and when I was an actor and when I produced film and television, that is the name that I utilize, G. Riley Mills, professionally. But Gary is what most people call me, or G, whatever.
Oh, you have
Z.
said me, because it was so, like there's something with my brain today. I don't know, maybe Monday, maybe, but it was three things I have to memorize. I said, okay, G and Riley and Mills, and some, maybe I'm also dyslexic. I don't know. I need to check. But anyway, I'm unique like you, unique. This is the most important. So, okay, welcome to another episode of Diversity is the Game Changer, the podcast where we dive deeply into the power of different perspectives and how, by communicating in a very right way, you will be teaching us today, we can shape the world we live, lead, and love in. So today we are honored, and I'm deeply honored to be joined by someone whose voice, both written and spoken, echoes across stages, screens, boardrooms, and around the globe, and solves, I'm sure, what is the most important for me. Our guest is G. Riley Miles, Gary. And Emmy Award-winning writer, producer, and the co-founder of, it's Pinnacle or Pinnacle?
Pinnacle. Pinnacle means the top, like the peak, the top of something, the pinnacle.
Because I don't know, I'm very imaginative, visual mind. So when I could read Pinnacle, it was immediately I was imagining actually pineapple, and probably I need to rest. I need to fly to exotic Palms Beach. Maybe it was this message, but it's nice. It's nice metaphoric. Why not? Everybody would like to be there once, right? And just pineapple and relax and palms.
Maybe it should have been the Pineapple Performance Company. That would have been very unique.
Maybe you and me, we can do some some small niche thread, something project, which will be actually, maybe now we are channeling exactly right. Now we are portals for that. It's a beginner's mind, how we can approach everything. So, and I know I need much more time to go on further on your numerous accolades, accomplish everything. I just continue a little bit, but otherwise we can spend just 50 minutes just talking about your accolades, But
sure.
You're the co-author of, I don't know, two bestsellers, I believe many more actually, and on communication, and presented the power. It is the powerful TED Talk, because I've been listening at least last couple of days 5 times. Now I can do your talk.
Love it.
Which is called Are We Killing Communication? I do really encourage everybody who will be watching our episode to really devote, deliberately focus your time. And this actually talk can change totally your life. And
thank you.
Trained these CEOs, leaders across all continents. And beautifully, of course, teaching your role model for your daughter, which you has mentioned in your TED Talk. It was beautiful. I love it. From consulting on Emmy winning the documentaries to creating theater and film projects that push cultural conversation forward. So you're not just tell the stories, you're building the bridges through them. This is the most important task of
Yep.
communication, right? And what is for me important, here is the heart of it, that your commitment to equity, inclusion, diversity and inclusion, and uplifting voices. So from your work, and I do love this gem because I have adopted 2 kids myself many years ago, and
Nice.
do a lot of charity with orphanages in Ukraine, and not just in
Amazing.
Ukraine. And I was so touched deeply when I could find out about your project, which is called Book Valach Organization. And you
Yes.
can tell us more about that project. And I would be more than honored that we can do actually really something together with this particular project.
Would be great.
So I can just go on, continue, but I'm not good listener. I'm teaching myself because this show, it's dialogue, it's douchey, but not monologue. So let's dive in. Please welcome everybody to, no, help me, everybody to welcome G. Riley Miles. And now I do believe people who are close to you and friends can call you Gary. So can I call you Gary, right?
Please.
Thank you. And communication, it's a bridging. And what is bridging in our life now? Because the most important, we live in presence, right? And bridging for the presence, it's past and future. And I do strongly believe we all are from our childhood and from our roots, and it's lasting echoes. And how we can actually then communicate our path, transform, and then make it in the prosperous future. So could you please tell us and take us a little bit backwards, that we can go to the present and future, to your roots, to your childhood?
Sure.
And how your childhood and mindset has shaped and created the person and all decisions accomplished, I'm sure, everything you have done. So please, Mike, is your stage, and I'm really trying now not to fontaine anymore.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. So, right there on the screen, diversity is the game changer. I very much believe that, and I've always believed that. And it started for me growing up. I grew up in a very small town in Minnesota, which is a state in the US, 1,200 people in the whole town, and very little diversity, not much diversity. A few Asian students, most who had been adopted, and we had one Black family in the whole town.
Oh, wow.
So not very diverse. However, the people of the town, diversity was important to them, especially the teachers at the school. So they would build programs, because remember, this was before the internet. So we didn't have the internet. We didn't even have cable TV. We just had 3 channels. And so they would there was an organization called AFS, and they would bring students from other countries to live in our town and teach us about their country and their culture and their customs and their food. And my parents were deeply involved in that organization, so I was as well. So from a very early age, I was excited by learning about other people, other cultures, other places in the world, seeing pictures. And so that was, for me, the start of it. And I knew at around 18 years old, I wanted to get out of the small town, and I wanted to live in a big city. And I wanted to pursue a career as a writer, as an actor, working in television and film and theater and writing books. And I couldn't really do that in that small town. So I came to Chicago, which was about 5.5 hours away. I think I was a little too scared to go all the way to New York at the time, which probably would have been where I wanted to go. But I came to Chicago in 1987, and I have never left. So I am still using Chicago as a home base. Although my company, Pinnacle, we train executives in communication and collaboration all over the world, 65 countries I think we're in now. So when I was 18, I came to Chicago, studied to be a professional actor and a writer. And then 20 years ago, now my co-founder at Pinnacle, David Lewis, came to me with the idea to start a company that teaches leadership, communication, and collaboration, but brings it from a different angle and utilizes the actor's mindset, all the tools a professional actor understands. He wanted to bring those into the corporate environment and asked me if I could write him a curriculum that would do that. So I started studying that and how I could bring that in. We developed a program, and we've been in business 20 years, and we train Fortune 500 executives. We train people all over the world. We have teams all over the world now. So yeah, to your point, communication, collaboration, diversity, those things are at the heart of what Pinnacle does. And my new book is called Synergy and Sparks. And there's a whole section in there on the importance of diverse voices in your team, in your organization. That's where good things happen, is when we hear diverse voices and everyone gets to be heard. So yeah, that's in a nutshell, that's how I came to do this work and how I'm here on your podcast today.
Wow, amazing. What a beautiful and powerful message. And first of all, to be encouraging to have really like beginner's mind, to not just notice diversity, right, but also to understand, maybe even from very small age, that what makes us different, what makes us beautiful, and how we can not compete. We know that the problem of society since industrial revolution is, of course, like free market competition, but without people who is actually at the wheel of that, and how you can communicate and watch the beauty of different perspectives, angles. It's so important. It's so important from the very young age. And we know, like you mentioned, that it was 1,200 people, but we know also, like, in every single culture, in every single city, even its subcultures, because all of us, we are different, right? We have like some kind of same traits, but again, and I can imagine you coming to Chicago. By the way, it is a beautiful city. I've been there many years ago, but I wish myself to be back one day. So thank you so much for sharing your story. In terms of veins of communication being different, I was happy to be presented and extended, and was listening your TED Talk a couple of times, because it was, of course, I wanted to make a little bit of my homework, but I do love also, I'm always hungry for new knowledge, but I really wanted to sit and be present, even like, because I'm very visionary, I need to read a little bit. And it was funny for me, like, first of all, I did like the approach, how you started about pager or beeper. And I just, oh my God, reflects immediately how much culture and actually context of time we are living influence the generation we are presenting now in this new generation. Because when I'm talking to my kids, which I have adopted from Ukraine, and they're like, Mom, what do you mean you didn't have computer? What do you mean you didn't have a phone? Because when you actually was talking to your daughter about pager, when I saw this, for me it was cosmical. Oh my God, cosmical tool. And then immediately what come to me, like how important it was at that time, because it's still some shows we can see, like at least beepers so effective, and pager when doctors have to be rushed to operational room, right? Like, I mean, at that time, and we are now like evolving and developing. Yes, like, so it's scary path, it's artificial intelligence, a lot was happening, going on, but still the most important, not to be lost with all that, especially poor youngsters, how much focus and noises everywhere. So that's why, first of all, how I do believe you have to be your own manager and to be able to manage your communication with yourself, right?
And for those who have not seen it, the TED Talk is called "Are We Killing Communication?" And I was invited to come to China, to Shanghai, and I did it at the Shanghai American School, their amazing school in the beautiful city of
tell us about Shanghai. That. And just one thing, congruence. It was, I've heard this word before, and I even know that. Could you please, in this talk, give us actually the threads, but for me privately, could you elaborate a little, break down what is actually congruence mean?
Congruence, Absolutely, absolutely.
Congrats.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I went to China to do this TED Talk. Super fun. If you've never done a TED Talk, it's very fun, but it's terrifying because you only get one chance. There's no reshoot. So if you screw up anything, it's there forever. So luckily mine went great. It went fine, no problems. The organizers were really great. But the opening of the TED Talk, I start with a story. And I tell the story about years ago, my daughter, I have two daughters. I was talking to one of my daughters. We were cleaning out one of her closets. And as she's digging through the boxes, she came across my pager from 1989, 1990, that era. And she goes, "Dad, what's this?" And so I explained to her what a pager did. And after I got done, she said to me, "Wait a second. So let me get this straight. Let me understand. So what this device did was it told you someone was trying to reach you, but it didn't tell you who they were. It didn't tell you what they wanted. And if you wanted to call them back, you couldn't use this to do that."
Mm.
I said, "Yes, that's exactly right." And she said, "Why would you want that? It sounds like the dumbest technology ever." And I said, that was what we had for communication technology in 1989. That was cutting edge. And so I wanted to make her understand, or the people listening to my TED Talk, I wanted them to understand communication and technology are always intertwined.
Mhm.
And things are starting to change very fast with AI, with all the different things that are coming our way, the way we do meetings now through Zoom, the fact that you and I are doing this type of
Exactly.
a session right now is thanks
Mhm.
to technology. But that's how I kick it off. And in my new book, I tell that story that we just talked about there, about how that came about and how technology is really changing the way we connect and collaborate. And it's not all good. Some of it is very exciting. Some of it is very good. Some of it's not so good. And I feel like in the future, younger generations, they're going to be very comfortable on technology and learning new platforms and moving from this platform to this. They're going to be very adaptable. But I worry that some of the social skills of face-to-face communication, of meeting strangers and mingling with strangers and having a conversation with someone you don't know much about, I worry that they're going to struggle with that. And so we want to make sure that communication is sharp for the younger generation coming up.
Yes, thank you so much. It's exactly what my concern is, because at the end of the day, we know it's about energy and presence. And for me,
Yeah.
it's very, very important as well to go anywhere and try at least consciously to spread the seeds of
Yes.
empathy. And empathy is so important. And
Thank
if you
you.
just, how many times you said 2,600 we are interacted every day with our screen?
Yeah, 2000. Yeah, over 2,600 times with our phone.
Yeah, can you
And
imagine?
to
Then
get
you extract 2,000 times of training your empathy muscle. It's scary.
Yeah, and I love that you bring up that word empathy. I talk a lot about that in the book. There's one of the six sections of the book is all about connection, which is harder in 2025 for bosses and leaders to stay connected with their people because we don't see them in the office because we work remote. We have teams all over the world sometimes, so it's hard to be connected to them. And so that idea of connection and empathy is something I talk about. I feel, as I'm sure you do, that empathy is struggling right now in a lot
Yeah.
of places, especially I feel like in the United States, but not just in the United States. Is people are so divided. They go to their separate camps. Am I over here? Am I over here? And we don't have empathy for other people anymore. People who are different than us. And a lot of times, and we're seeing it in some of the leadership in the United States, is empathy, priority, attention is only given to the people who are on my team. And if you're not on my team, you must be bad or the enemy or the other or not worth it. And that's not great. That's not good. We have to come together as people to get anything done, whether it's in a government, an organization, a team, a marriage, very important. And you had mentioned congruence, that concept of congruence, which
Yes, please.
I talk about it both in the TED Talk, but I write exclusively about it in the new book, Synergy and Sparks. Here's what congruence is. So my last book that I wrote with David Lewis, my co-founder, was called The Bullseye Principle. And the reason it was called The Bullseye Principle was there's a quote at the front of the book from Gilbert Arland, who's a writer, where he says, when the archer misses the mark, failure to hit the bullseye is never the fault of the target. To improve your aim, improve yourself. That is the reason we wrote that book. And it's a concept that we teach in our coaching and our training, which is if you have a message, think of it like an arrow. And it's got to hit the bullseye with your audience, whether that's your client, your child, your spouse, your team member, whoever it is. You've got to hit the bullseye with the message. And if you don't, the message is not going to be impactful. They're not going to walk away knowing why you told them that, why it's important, or what you want them to do with that information. And that's bad communication, and that's a big problem. Congruence is the tool that's going to help you make sure that arrow hits the bullseye with that audience. And congruence simply means all of your communication, your gestures, your facial expressions, your eye contact, your body language, your voice, your word choices, they're all aligned. They're all trying to do the same thing, and they're crystal clear. So your execution in the delivery is going to be spot on. When there's what we call incongruence, meaning mixed messages, that's when communication can break down. For example, if I'm giving you really good news that you've done a great job as my team leader, you have to see it in my face. You have to hear it in my voice. You have to feel it in my gestures and also observe it in my word choices that I'm commending you for being a great team leader. And I'm proud of you and I'm happy with your work. Great job. If I do it like this, you've been a great leader for me the
I'm
last
happy
2
to
weeks.
see you. Welcome
I'm
to the
happy
show.
it's not going to reach its mark. It's going to be either confusing or ineffective. So that's what congruence is, making sure everything is aligned. So that message, that's your arrow, sails right toward the goal.
It's basically, I do love to really use cross-fertilization from different domains. So it's like yoga. People actually believe you do yoga if you sit like this or that. No, you don't need yoga, actually from Sanskrit, union. It's just union. It's body, soul, and mind. And for me, what you have described beautifully now, it's actually powerful yoga tool for communication. It's three things what you've mentioned now, which is by union. Just I need to learn to pronounce this word, which again reminds me about kangaroo. You know what? Pineapples, kangaroo, what's happening now? You know what? You and me and Luis, we have to do something there in Australia, probably.
Probably. Are there pineapples in Australia? I'm not
they
sure.
won't just come to me like, okay, amazing. I do love a little bit more touching gems from your TED talk. I did love so much. You have presented alter ego, which I think it's very powerful. So scary because for people like me, I'm displaying neurodivergent OCD, and sometimes, believe me or not, I have intrusive thoughts which I have nothing to deal with in terms of responsibility, but the intrusive thoughts really try my mind to attack me. If somebody can just sit one day with this beeper page, like you mentioned, in your pocket and just read all of them, then it's it's scary. But what
the alter ego, for those that who weren't who haven't seen the TED talk, I talk about this device at MIT that they developed, which was called the alter ego. And what it was it's strapped to your head and it was connected to your brain, so it could read basically your brain waves, and it could read your thoughts before you're about to deliver them. So this device shows us where we're going probably in the future, where right now it's a big device strapped to your head. So you would know if someone's trying to read your thoughts. But as technology advances, my concern is, what happens when it's not a big helmet strapped to your head with all these electrodes and all this equipment? What if it's something small like this, and it's in my pocket, and I can read your thoughts across the table while we're negotiating? I've got an earpiece that goes to here. It's reading your thoughts as we negotiate this thing. That's a scary science fiction type thing that's probably not that far away.
Gary, what makes really funny what hits me now, because I have those intrusive thoughts sometimes. And they really can be so intense, and they're really going to horrify. And so actually, in terms of also cross-fertilization between diverse domains, and you're in the theater and movie,
Yeah.
if you just one day sit together with me, maybe with palms and kangaroos, and we have this beeper, and you can scan my thoughts and we can notice them, so we can make the best ever horrifying show again, like it just, yeah. But I mean, in terms of that, I do love your message, which you should, of course, perform now, that in these terms, we have to be so selective and skeptical what we actually, of all this information, thoughts, and communication and noise, should really to be responsible, adaptable, right? You should be selective, especially. Can you please then elaborate further how you're also doing this brilliant?
Yeah, I just talked about the great thing with technology is today we have more information at our fingertips than we've ever had throughout history. Yeah. So in one way, that is very, very exciting. If I am working on a project that involves Nikola Tesla, the inventor, I don't have to go and find a laboratory in Europe that has all of Nikola Tesla's information or has biographies, or a library here in Chicago or New York. I can find it through the internet, through the World Wide Web. I can find that information, which is fantastic. The downside of all that information is distraction. It's overwhelming. There's so much. And also, which of it is true, which of it is real, which of it is not true. You've got to really do your homework sometimes on where you're getting information, where your source is, to make sure it's not biased or it's not propaganda. I'm constantly shocked. I don't know if you feel the same way about people who I know who are smart people who can be tricked by a YouTube video that is very well produced. Mm-hmm. So they'll see a YouTube video that is super well produced with graphics and sound and imagery, and all the information is just garbage. It's propaganda. It's not true. But they believe it because it's a well-produced video. So we have to fight against that. We have to really use our common sense and do a little research.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's so powerful, transformational message, especially in terms of approaching people like me and other people who's neurodivergent. And you mentioned that also in your TED Talk, that we are now in era actually of mental health pandemic, and we already knows what is word pandemic, and we are really now even more and more, like in different countries in the Western and these wealthy countries, it's really the time we already experience now. It's mental health pandemic. And if, like you are teaching, we cannot communicate, or we cannot selectively communicate what we should to get into here, right? The food for our brains, not detach, but proceed and be the thought that it can be dramatic results, right? So let's encourage and be, you and me, advocates for this really selective and skeptical approach, what kind of food you put in your brain. Thank you.
Absolutely agree. And to your point, sorry, go ahead.
No, it was, please.
Oh, so to your point about neurodivergent learners or team members, I really think in the last so many years, maybe 5 to 10 years, it's become really important to make sure that you meet people where they are in your team and in your organization. And one size fits all from a communication standpoint or collaboration standpoint does not work. In the book, I talk about how studies show that over 50% of people identify as introverted. That means they don't want to get up and stand in front of an audience. That means they're not really comfortable in a big group putting their ideas out there. Mm-hmm. However, they may have the best ideas in your team or in your group. So you as a leader have to make space for them. Mm-hmm. And you have to understand that they don't want to maybe stand up in front of everybody and give their thoughts or opinions. So you've got to figure out ways to be able to get their information to the whole group. And so in the book, I talk about some ways that you can do that using amplification and things like that to make sure that either lower status people who are maybe brand new or just out of college, they don't generally get to speak up. They're told to be quiet and let the senior leaders talk. When in fact, these younger people, they might have some ideas we're missing. We forgot, oh, we haven't even thought of that. And they see a hole in the way we're working. So we've got to hear from all of those people. Neurodivergent, same thing, is you have to, so first off, in what we call the Pinnacle method that we teach all over the world, there are 3 steps in the Pinnacle method for effective communication. I talk about it in the new book. I talk about it in the TED Talk. The first is you have to start by analyzing your audience. Who am I talking to? Who am I communicating with? And you have to ask yourself some questions. What do they know? What do they not know? What is their learning style? How do they feel about me? What is their education level? What is their proficiency in this topic? What questions might they ask me after I tell them this information? And are there neurodivergent people in my team or in my group? Because I'm going to have to adjust my message depending on that. So that's the first step, is analyzing your audience to know who you're talking to and what's important to them, what's a priority. Second step, once you've analyzed your audience, you have to identify what you want them to do. So your communication should be about action. I want you to do something. If it's just information, that's probably an email. You don't have to communicate. Just here's some information. You don't need to come all the way onto a Zoom meeting.
The data.
Exactly.
Message kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So identify what you want them to do and how you want them to feel. Is this good news, bad news? Do you want them excited, challenged, reassured? What do you want them to feel? And then the final step in the process is modify delivery. So analyze your audience, identify what you want them to do and how you want them to feel, then modify your delivery. That means facial expressions, eye contact, gestures, body language, movement, word choices, how you listen. So all of those things together, that's going to create that congruence that we talked about. If everything's aligned, that's congruence, and you're going to be in pretty good shape. But working with neurodivergent folks, there's a huge percentage of the population that has hearing loss or has hearing problems. And so it's harder for information to get to them just because of their inability to hear clearly. So you might need to repeat things. You might need to create space to ask questions. Did you get that? Can I say it again so to make sure that you understood it? And so we have to take all those things, and that's what diversity, when you talk about diversity being a game changer, is bringing in all of those ideas to make sure that everyone is getting the message equally. Very important. And I'll give you an example of a mistake that I made and our company made at Pinnacle years ago. And it taught me something very, very important about neurodivergent team members, about diversity, about empathy. And here's what it was. We had a trainer who worked for us, had been working for us for years, amazing instructor, very good. And we added a new product. We wanted to start doing for certain clients written evaluation forms. So I would coach you, and then I would provide a written form of all the things we worked on, areas for you to work on and to improve, and then strengths and things like that. And what we found was those written reports, because this particular team member was dyslexic.
Those were what hit me immediately. Yeah, my daughter dyslexic, then it doesn't work.
Yeah, very, very challenging for this very, very smart, very talented trainer. So what we did when we found this out, we said, well, guess what? That trainer, we just won't put them on any of these particular jobs that require a written report. We'll give those to people who don't have dyslexia and just make it easy for them and make it. Well, that is the wrong thing to do, because it is not equitable or inclusive for that person with this neurodivergent situation. So instead, what we did eventually, we figured out the right thing to do is to meet that great trainer where they are and get them the assistance, the software to help them write those reports and proofread those reports so they could still do that job, so they're not pushed aside and they're not left out of that opportunity. And it was a big learning moment for me, and it was a mistake that I made at the moment I was just trying to do the right thing, and it was not the right thing. And I learned a lot. That was a really good lesson for me.
Brilliantly. It's like you mentioned now. Exactly. It's a lesson. I do love the quote, never a failure, always a lesson, always
Yeah.
experience. That's why by doing this mistake, or it was this path, is how we actually can evolve,
Yeah.
learn both personal growth and professional growth.
Absolutely. And that comes from feedback. That comes from trying things, creating psychological safety within your team and your company.
Yeah.
So people feel safe that I can try something. I made a mistake. It didn't work out. And you're okay. We're not going to fire you or mock you or ridicule you.
No.
Just learn from it and let's not make that mistake again. And if leaders can create that psychologically safe environment for everybody, not only neurodivergent folks, but for everybody, that's a great environment for people to work in and grow.
Yeah, think how many beautiful things in the world now are invented, discovered, but by failing forward.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
I do love the approach you are advocating for, and so important for me. Of course, I am neurodivergent myself. I have adopted 2 kids with neurodivergence. It's a huge thing now, and I'm so happy that you are a role model and you not just talk your path, but you walk your path, and you're doing, like you said, that these three things what you have been elaborated. They taught us. I still can call it kangaroo of your connection. I cannot. I need to practice a little bit more, but I do really love it, and I want now to talk more about really hard case and involvement, engagement you are into. Just one of them. I know that I'm sure you're engaged in many of those, because I can feel the empathy. I can feel the congruence between your story and emotions and heart and values and empathy. This is the root. So of course you are into charity organizations and projects. And could you please tell us more about this very important, because now everything starts from the knowledge, from the education, right? About the special project you are creating and involved, helping orphanage kids to get more books, more knowledge. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So this would have been, almost 15 years ago. A couple friends, one of them who grew up in India and had a difficult childhood, and books and stories and imagination really helped her get through some difficulties in her childhood. She came to me with this idea that she wanted to start an organization, a not-for-profit, that would collect storybooks in the US. So if you have kids in the US, at least, they read the books, they get lots of books, and then they grow out of the books. They get too old, and those books just sit in a box. And so my friend Sina came up with the idea of, what if we collected all those storybooks that people don't use anymore, and we identify in India orphanages that don't have a library, where the kids don't have access to storybooks. And what if we go in and build a library in the orphanage and then stock it with beautiful books and bring in teachers to teach the kids English.
Oh my God.
Yeah, to teach the kids English and to teach them the power of storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the time, I was going to India 3 to 4 times a year for speaking engagements or coaching gigs. I'm headed there. I was there 2 weeks ago. I'm going back to India in another 3 weeks, I think. And so I said, it's a great idea. Let's do this. And we had a friend named Ranjit in Mumbai who helped us. So the 3 of us started the organization. We started the idea. And I said, I'll go find some orphanages while I'm in India. I'll go visit them and see if I can find some that might be a good fit, because we didn't have any money. But I was already there. So I would just build in an extra day, and then I would go and visit these orphanages. And I identified a few orphanages that seemed perfect. And so what we did is we started raising money, and we've been around 15 years. I think we've done 16 orphanages that we've built in libraries in orphanages in India. So it's great. And we watch the kids grow up. We see the kids from a small age, and then we see them when they're 18 leaving the orphanage and becoming adults. And so it's been very, very rewarding. I've had to step away for the last few years, so I'm not involved in the day-to-day, but bookwalla.org is the organization, and it does amazing work. And And again, going back to the diversity, getting to meet these kids, talk to these kids, read books to these kids, see how they are, again, their hearts are open, their minds are opened. We make connections that will last a lifetime simply by collaborating and working together with them. So yeah, thanks for asking, and thanks for the work you're doing with the orphanages in Ukraine.
Thank you so much. It's so powerful message of showing, first of all, that the great story of path, how you are living, what you're preaching, you're doing that. This is so important to pick up the targetly, selectively time, what is the most precious commodity now.
Absolutely.
Be devoted to one case, because you and me, we have accomplished quite a lot. We have so much knowledge, but at the same time we all have the same challenge. It's about energy, quantity of energy, how much you have per your day, right? And how you target and prioritize. And people who not just talking, also some great talkers, they have to be there, because you said 50% introverts, they don't want to be there. But also people who can talk and walk that path, it's so beautifully. So I've started already, at least I found the book Walla on Instagram, and I started sharing. I will, that's for sure, make more, even post. And my beautiful dream and goal also to now not find the time, wrong word, but make the time to go to India. And then maybe we can do something also together. Maybe we can do, because so many books now also burned in Ukraine, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Library and everything just burned and bumped away. Like 2 orphanage, I have particularly supported, because my 2 kids from them. So one bumped away, another the kids kidnapped. It's you know, it's another story. Wow. We are not talking about that, but it's so important, because knowledge of our kids, what can be more important?
It's the future, right? We're relying on. So I have 2 daughters. So as a parent, my main goal is I want to raise 2 smart, kind, open-hearted, curious human beings to replace me and my wife. I want them to be kind, empathetic, open-hearted. If I do that, that's the greatest accomplishment I think any of us could ever have, is loving, kind people.
Yes.
The world needs people
message.
Like that.
I do appreciate your time, which exactly what we're elaborating now and underlining, the time and presence, fully present, focused, fully present, not multitasking what we are doing, actually not overdoing all the time, but being for each other here deeply. This is people's, especially youngsters, you know, it's so many friends, deal friends, but not real friends, because social media friends, if you invest in this relationship, they can grow into deep real friends, but this is not real friends. Like, you know, my Facebook friends, what it's my Instagram or something. Yes, it's very nice, like you and me, how we could meet each other, like it's very nice facilitators. But then you have communicate, like you said, deliberately, targetedly. You should invest more deeply. Amazing. Before we wrapping up, I always asking one question a little bit in playfulness, in a joyful manner, because we started from childhood, and then what actually kids do when they were small and we can experience together with them. We learn them through fairy tales, again, books, orphanages, and magic. And why we unlearn them the whole life after that magic is not true, it's crazy for me. They really, basically, we plant the seeds because it's magic, and then it's another story. Maybe we can co-write the book. But what I'm doing, I'm always joking, and I will be bringing to Paris my vice president here. And my vice president, it's a small, tiny pink lamp I bought in Morocco. It's a genie lamp, my vice president. But she's very sustainable. She wants to help as many people as possible. She doesn't grant 3 wishes, but one. That's for sure for all of my guests. So my very last question, my vice president, she's waiting for me in Norway, flying tomorrow. But if she was here, like, we can imagine manifestations, right? Is everything imagination. Here, like, very beautiful pink genie lamp from Morocco, and then your genie out, And Mike is yours. What would be your wish for today?
That is a fantastic question. What a great question to end on. So for me, it would go back to what we talked about around empathy. I feel like there is a lack of empathy worldwide,
Yeah.
whether it's for the suffering in Ukraine, whether it's the suffering in Gaza, whether it's Israel, whether it's there's so much conflict, there's so much division, there's so much distrust, almost to the borderline of hatred, especially in the U.S., and meanness and cruelty coming from above, and it filters down, and you can see it online, you can feel it, and it's not great. And diversity, which is why I was so excited to do your fantastic podcast talking about the idea of diversity, which I tackle in my new book. And I wanted to, if I can, I have just a quote from the new book. It's
Oh,
not
please,
me.
of course.
It's not my quote. I interviewed a gentleman named Dr. Marcus Robinson, who has studied empathy and inclusion and diversity for the last 35 years. So he's been doing it before it was something that people even called diversity. And I asked him when I was interviewing him for my book, I said, why is diversity important? Because there's even some people who don't even want diversity and equity and inclusion. They're fighting against it like it's a bad thing. And I said, why is diversity important? And he told me this quote off the cuff. He said it word for word like this. And it is my absolute favorite conversation or definition of diversity and inclusion. Here's what he said. There's a paradox to diversity because on one level, we are like no one. And then on another level, we are just like everybody else. Diversity is about race, ethnicity, and gender. It's also about age and differing abilities. It's about sexual orientation and gender identity. But it doesn't stop there because it's also about a person's education and their background, their geographic location, their role, function, and their status within an organization. These are all different dimensions of diversity, as well as someone's personality, their communication style, their management style, as well as the culture, the mythos and ethos of the organization itself. These are all components of diversity in the human ecology of work right now. It was so great because we forget diversity is everything, older, younger, cultural differences, religious differences, educational differences, geographical differences. You're in Paris right now. I'm in Chicago, yet we're connecting and we're communicating and collaborating in a way that we can bring these messages, hopefully, to thousands of people around the world. So that would be my message is, how do we get to this? How, as a people, do we all come together around the world to fight for basically humanity and human skills? I don't like calling them soft skills. I think it's so condescending. But empathy, collaboration, communication, teamwork. How do we sharpen those human skills so we can move into the future together as people and not constantly be fighting, arguing, dividing, and hating other people? So that's my magic genie wish.
What a brilliant, I don't know, so deep, so wise wish and message. And I don't know how even I call it. It's really intertwined, and it was so. And I do love the idea. I always collect my gems after conversation that, like, and this gentleman who said we are like no one, and yes, we are like everybody else.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so deep.
So great,
it's so
right?
simplicity.
It's
like
so
it's so
true.
simple, but it's so deep, and this is a root. This is true. It's so beautiful, right? And like you said, the most important to understand the social divine glue of us is like individual societies and respect and empathy. In this togetherness, we can thrive. Togetherness, not competition. Why we do love botanical garden? My first podcast was today in botanical garden. Lily never compete with Rose. Never. She doesn't need all that even, and she never actually even flourished to get this more of this. They don't care. That's why so beauty, right? So amazing. Thank you so much. It was powerful, it was beautiful, it was wise, it was energetically, emotionally, uh, tremendously, magically charged, which
Oh, thank you
I
so
hope
much.
you
Thank
can
you for
fly
having me
on
on.
this charge this week. I do much
Yes.
more. Maybe soon we flying on these emotions can meet where we have pineapples and this
I
kangaroo,
would
which you were talking about.
I would love it. Thank you for everything you do. Thanks for a great podcast. And I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and meet with you and talk about these things because I think they're important, and talk about the new book, Synergy and Sparks, which I'm excited that that interview with Marcus is in there. It's worth it just to get the book just for that interview because he's so smart and
Usually,
it's so
I'm not
important.
selfish. I never actually ask anything for myself, for my wish, but I would be very, very honored if one day you also co-author the book, and you, if you want also me, humble little girl with very special uniqueness, which we call now beautiful neurodivergence, I would be more than happy also to bring some my gems. If
Love
you,
it. Love that.
absolutely. Togetherness, right? So thank you so much again, and
Thank you.
please stay the most important what you can do for us in this world. You, like, you know, they say in New York, like, you do you. That's
Yes.
so simple, but that's so, this is so deep, and that's why my last things. But I really, really grateful, and I'm thankful so much that you are doing you every single day,
Yeah, you as
and
well.
you making the ripple effect by being you. So thank you. Please continue on that path. Thank you.
Thank you. You as well. I appreciate you.
Thank you. To our audience, we don't need to add anymore. So please, I really hope that this about message, empathy, and communication. You can always reach out to me and to Gary to get more knowledge, more guidance, how to communicate, how to channel what is about empathy, and of course the terms he's teaching. And please watch his TED Talk. It's life changing. I really mean it.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, and until next time. Thank you, Gary, for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye, and wish you all much success with this second book. When it's in 3 days, in 4 days. It's 2nd of September. You said your new book.
It comes out, yeah, first week in September. It'll be out in bookstores. So you can pre-order. People can pre-order now. You can go read about it on Amazon. But yeah, it'll be out next month.
Okay.
1 month from today.
Amazing. So wish you all success with all your projects.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much. You as well.
Yes, thank you. And heart from Paris.
Thank you.
Diversity.
Right back at you. Thanks for having
Yes.
me.
Okay. Bye bye again.
Bye-bye.